The ending of Andor Season 2 just showed you, still, that Cassian Andor died on Scarif, together with Jyn Erso, and he had a son that he didn't know about. It looks like that's why, at the end, Bix just went away, because she wanted to protect his own son without him knowing. And at the very least, at the end, we realize why. So I really want to say this. Tony Gilroy has just superseded any expectation that anybody has had. Andor Season 1 and especially Season 2 will go down, I think, as one of the best series of all time, not only Star Wars, but of all time, of anything, one of the best. I'm gonna rewatch this series, and something that I don't say about often, something that I don't say about any other series that comes to mind. I mean, I love The Sopranos or Breaking Bad or The Wire. These are like premium top series when I think of really great and engaged series in my mind. Something, as I said, that I'm going to rewatch again and again. A year later, 2 years later, I'm going to go back to it. And I remember watching season 1 and thinking that I'm definitely going to watch this again. And I did, again and again. And the same goes for season 2. It was a slow burn. It took its time. The wrap-up wasn't everybody's good, and we just... we finished this off. Hooray and congratulations. The wrap-up to when Andor walks to the platform is... everybody's incarcerated, miserable, dead, committed, unalive. The downfall is insane. And it does this without pardon. And this is why I respect what Tony Gilroy did with not only this series, but with the characters. Some of them could have been alive and could have been explained, just like Bix. Why isn't she in like the original trilogy or anything like that? They're not part of the story. And perhaps they will never be. Never ever. They are non-essential characters that gave us a good ride and just moved on. And that goes for the secret son of Cassian Andor. Cassian dies without knowing that he was ever a dad, and will probably never learn what happened to them. Probably. Just like we never learned what really happened with Andor's sister. Everybody that was accustomed to these types of series, and especially when it comes to Star Wars, everything needs to be connected, everything needs to make sense. They showed us that Andor had a sister, Cassian. If you remember, back in season 1 when it started, he was in search of his sister. He wasn't vying for any rebellion or empire. He just wanted to find his sister. This is where the journey begins, and it ends without him really knowing what has happened to her, without us knowing. It's not that important to the grand scheme of things. And this is what Tony Gilroy had the capacity and the courage to do. He knew the bigger picture. Instead of giving everybody the time of day, he knew that it wasn't that important at the end of the day. The rebellion versus the empire is more important rather than Andor's long-lost sister. Will Tony Gilroy ever get back to Star Wars? I have seen interviews where he was asked, especially, I think Kathleen Kennedy approached him about future projects, and I think they were talking about a movie or something. Tony Gilroy has many other projects that he needs to attend to, and Star Wars by far is not one of them. He has finished with Andor, I think, and I don't think he will come back for the foreseeable future. We have to talk money just quickly, because they announced that Andor Season 2 was just... Let me read here. I got an article right here. Okay, so Andor has pulled in over $300 million in subscriber revenue. This is Parrot Analytics, streaming economics, and this is more than Ahsoka and the Book of Boba Fett combined. And so just by this alone, I mean, Andor Season 2 staggering, $290 million for the budget. So money-wise, and this report, by the way, came in before the season finale, the 3-episode arc finale. This is during its release. And as I said, I have gone back to Andor again and again after it finished. I wanted to see it again. And I definitely am going to want to see Season 2 again, revisit it. They don't take that into account. How many times people will consume Andor, both seasons. It has already made a mark not only in Star Wars, but I definitely think that it deserves some sort of recognizable awardship, something. This transcended everything. Star Wars-wise and much more. It went to such deep levels that it hit me personally, because I lived through war. I lived through oppression. I come from a country, people, where we were oppressed. We were haunted. I had family that I don't have anymore because they were wiped out. They were killed. And I can't really talk about it because I'm gonna get choked up. And it's hard living through those moments as a kid, and now as an adult, you try to figure out the system, the world, and you realize that there's nothing to figure out. We're still just sometimes barbarians, and the power structure is there for a reason. They vie for control. Meanwhile, people want freedom. And this is what Andor and Tony Gilroy had a mission, an exact mission to show to you. This is the hardest series, one of the hardest series I had to watch personally. This is why many times I wanted to speak out, talk about Andor in my channel. And I just, I talked about basically everything else other than Andor. It's the reason why Andor exists that gets me excited. Because if Disney can take a, step like this and show you words that I don't want to talk about here because I'm going to get flagged. Geno, you know what I'm saying? It's all these things in a Star Wars bow, which were very risque. Star Wars is a totally different brand. And even though we have evil guys and good guys, they tampered it a lot. Even George back in the day, he would not go into such depths and lengths to show you what the Empire really was. We never had grape scenes in Star Wars before. There was a reason for that, because Star Wars is a different brand. It's totally something different. Even from Star Trek. In Star Trek, they would still take some risks, but never in Star Wars. And now you have it. Tony Gilroy made it a mission for himself. And with generating this much attention, and probably awards, and probably money. Yes, they did make money, but probably much more. This is the bottom line. At the end of the day, Disney will want to collaborate with Tony Gilroy again. Tony Gilroy already has good faith in the Star Wars community, and he knows what he wants and how to do it within the Star Wars mechanics. So, will Tony Gilroy be back again in some form? I believe the opportunity to skip this is too big. They will at some point come to an agreement. Perhaps just let Tony Gilroy be free for some time to make his own projects and his own vision, but I don't think Lucasfilm has that comfort to really say, we don't need Tony Gilroy. They definitely need him. This was such a big success. Coming after, first example, of course, The Acolyte. It was rumored that it was going to be super successful and new things, and we're going to watch 100 years before The Phantom Menace and everything and all that, and it flopped. That's why it didn't get a second season. Meanwhile, Andor is crushing records and making hundreds and hundreds upon millions of dollars, generating revenue and new subscribers. I don't know what Tony Gilroy could do. I mean, there's a possibility to tell a totally different version of like the Rebels and the Empire with now the New Republic and the Imperial Remnant. They could show us the Imperial Remnant part. Now they are kind of the rebellion against the New Republic. Not that they're the good guys, but we can see a version where how the bad guys do their thing. The ending was definitely a shock. I couldn't help but think that Andor died in Rogue One without ever knowing he had a son. So that's kind of sad. And in the back of my mind, I was hoping, hey, can they like kind of retcon Cassian Andor dying on Scarif? I don't see a possibility of that happening. But yeah, pretty sad. Let me know what did you think about the finale down below in the comments.